We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to AVRant. I'm Tom Andry, and I'm here with
Rob H.
Jaremy. Jaremy has a Marantz AV7702 MK2 Pre-Pro configured for a 7.2.4 Atmos setup in his living room. It's open to the rest of the house, so it's a large open space. His seats are roughly 12 feet from the screen, and he rarely goes louder than -10 dB on the master volume dial. His amplifiers are all Emotiva. He has one 5-channel amp and two 3-channel amps, all from the XPA series. His front LCR speakers are all 4 ohms. His backs, surrounds and backs are 6 ohms. And his overheads are 8 ohms. And he's very happy with the sound. But he wants Dolby Vision, and he wants it right now. So he knows he could wait for his Marantz to get updated, but Marantz says 2018 for his model, and he doesn't want to wait that long. So
Yeah, we mentioned that in the news, and that is true. The AV7702 MK2. So going way back, I said there's no reason that model can't be updated to support Dolby Vision. Then they released the thing saying the AV7703 was going to get an update, but they didn't mention the 7702 MK2, and we were like, crap, maybe the 2015 models aren't going to get it at all, only the 2016 and 2017 models are. And now they have the new information saying, oh no, the AV7702 MK2 will get the update, just not until 2018. The 7703 got it, like, just now.
there you go.
So, yes.
So he says he could buy a new AV7704 or a refurbished AV7703. The 7704 comes with Dolby Vision support out of the box, and 7703, as Rob just mentioned, just got the upgrade. So everything else would just stay the same.
Yeah, he'd keep all his amps and just swap out his one Pre-Pro for a newer version of the Pre-Pro.
So second, he says he could sell his 7702 and all of his Emotiva amps and just go with an 11-channel Denon X6400H or X6300H receiver.
Yeah, those are the ones, those are AV receivers that have 11 amplifiers built into its one chassis.
Or he could replace his AV7702 MK2 with a Denon X44 or X4300 and keep all of his amps, or he could sell one or two of his amps and use a mix of external and internal amplification. So he says his budget is fairly flexible, but of course he'd appreciate getting good value. He definitely does not want to notice any sort of downgrade in his sound quality. What do we think the best way to come out this is? What will we do out of these three? I know what I would do, and
As do I.
I don't know that I think that you would be happy with what I would do, but I'll tell you what I would do. I would not buy a brand new or a refurbished 7703. That would be my second choice. A 7704 would not even be on the table for me. The refurbished 7703, which does everything you want and is going to be significantly cheaper, would be option B for me.
Okay, so that's keeping all of his amps, getting a new Pre-Pro to replace his 7702 MK2, but you'd go with the one model year up and a refurbished version of that from Accessories for Less so that the price stays down.
That's what I would do. And I believe that's what he wants me to tell him to do.
Okay.
That's what I believe. Okay. That being said, I would probably go with an X4300H from Accessories for Less, which will get the update if it doesn't have it already.
It already has it.
I would keep the 5-channel amps and to power the front and the front 3 and the surround speakers, and I would use the internal amps to power the rest, and I would call it a day. That's what I would do. I would sell
that is
rest.
Exactly the same thing I would do, Tom.
Shocking. But that is
the exact same.
Those two 3-channel amps would pay for this whole kit and caboodle, I think.
Well, plus he's selling the 7702 MK2 Pre-Pro as well. That's going to fetch some money.
But I think he wants us to say, get the 7703, because I think he wants all the amps. I don't want to notice a downgrade in sound quality.
But that's just it. You won't.
I think he will, but I don't know that it'll actually be there.
Really? So
you know what I'm saying?
Here's where we're coming at it from. We're looking at the AV receiver as just a processor.
Yes.
Right? Well, that's how we're viewing it. And for all the things he wants to do, the X4300H, which is an AV receiver. It has 9 amplifiers built in. It can process 11 speakers, but it has all the processing that he would want. It still has Odyssey Multi-Q XT32 with sub-EQ HT, so it's got the highest level of Odyssey for room correction. It got the Dolby Vision and HLG pass-through firmware update. People have sent us the pictures that they just did it. So it's got the Dolby Vision right now. It processes the 7.2.4 Atmos configuration that he wants to run. And it does it all for, if you get the refurbished version from Accessories for Less, for $700, which is by far the least expensive price. So we're saying you get all the processing you need for the lowest price possible. Then it does have these 9 amplifiers built in. So he wants to run 7.2.4. He has 11 speakers. He must have at least 2 channels of external amplification. That is necessary if he does this. But he already owns 11 channels of external amplification, so we know he already has it.
Right.
And what we're saying is keep the 5-channel one. He's got 1 5-channel and 2 3-channel amps. We're saying keep the 1 5-channel because you got these 4-ohm front, left, center, and right speakers. And I'm like, yeah, you could use external amplification for that. I think that's a good idea. It's the same amp you're already using, so you're not going to notice any difference in sound. And then might as well keep the 5-channel one and still power your surround speakers. Now you have to power 6 speakers with the X4300H. But we're talking about powering your surround backs and your 4 overhead speakers.
The speakers that do the least amount of work probably out of any speaker in here. And none of them are going to require all that much power. So
yeah, they're
even if
physically closer to you than your front, left, center, and right. They don't get used nearly as often.
They don't get nearly as loud most of the time. So
and you're far less critical
of
the sound because they're behind you and above you where we don't hear too so good, us humans.
we don't hear too so good, yeah.
No, we're not very good at hearing from those locations. So powering those 6 positions with the X4300H's built-in amplifiers, I have zero there. If you could honestly, in a blind comparison, genuinely tell them apart,
not a chance.
Not a chance.
So, to Rob's point that we don't hear that well behind us, you guys probably remember last podcast I was talking about how I wasn't sure if my height speakers were working because I didn't know if that light was supposed to turn green on the amplifier, and it never does. It just stays red. So after the last podcast, I went through and did the test tones. And they're working. They're working.
Oh, good.
And as it went around the room, because my 2 surround back speakers are pretty close to each other, and they're directly behind me, of course, as they're supposed to be, I could not tell which one was playing unless I turned my head to the side so I could get my ear so I could localize it a little bit.
Yeah. You get some better triangulation separation between your ears there. Yeah.
So, there is zero chance. I mean, even if these were hard to drive speakers that you were using for surround backs,
these are his 8-ohm speakers in these positions.
I know,
that's
what I'm saying. I'm saying even if they were the 4-ohm speakers, there would be zero problem with your receiver powering these things. Zero problem. So it does everything you want your system to do for the least amount of. In fact, you're going to make a profit on this. If you sell 2 Emotiva 3-channel amps and your AV7702 Mark II, you're going to get back more than $700, the cost of the X4300H. So you're going to come away with the new processor that does everything you want to do and money in your pocket. Right.
That's the solution, in my view.
He says the very newest models mention having the newest HDMI standards and being upgradable to features like EARC. He has a long 40-foot HDMI cable run, so a strong HDMI connection is a priority for him. He's also a gamer, so the variable adaptive frame rate feature, which Xbox One X will supposedly support, would be an attractive thing to him. Are those considerations enough to warrant paying more for one of the newest receiver or pre-pro models? The 40-foot cable run, there's nothing that's going to be inside your receiver that's going to make that work if it don't work.
Right.
So if the cable that you've already got isn't going to end up supporting this, I don't care how new your receiver is. It's not, the cable just doesn't, it's going to fail. So that's not really a consideration. Now, features like EARC and whatever this adaptive frame rate
frame rate, yeah.
Do we know? Is that going to take HDMI 2.2 or
2.1?
2.1, I mean, or
so yeah, I mean, those were features that are mentioned in the HDMI 2.1 specification, but they don't really require, like, they certainly don't require the 48 gigabits per second of bandwidth.
Right.
So it has been talked about that features like that could be added to existing HDMI chipsets. It's just a matter of writing the firmware to do it. They've already confirmed enhanced audio return channel, but I mean, I'm struggling to come up with the scenario where that's going to be useful to you. I mean, the only one I can really come up with is if your television's built-in streaming apps start to support lossless audio, because we're not even talking about Dolby Atmos in the form of Dolby Digital Plus with Atmos extensions, which is what you're getting right now if you're listening to Atmos from Netflix or Vudu or Amazon Prime Video or any of the streaming services that are giving Atmos right now. They're doing it in a lossy form using Dolby Digital Plus.
Yeah.
And LG's OLED TVs already output that from regular audio return channel. They don't need the enhanced audio return channel because enhanced audio return channel is for the lossless version. It's for the Dolby True HD version.
Right.
So I'm struggling to see where that's actually important. Tom's absolutely right. The cable that's up to the cable, not up to whatever ports you're connecting it to, really.
Yeah.
And we don't know about the variable adaptive frame rate thing. That hasn't been talked about in AV receivers. It hasn't been mentioned. Is it possible it could be added? Yes, but we really haven't heard anything about it. So, plus, if you're only paying $700 now, by the time that feature does arrive, you could just upgrade again.
You could do $700 again.
That's right.
Get the one that you're looking at right now. All right, so he says there's a wrinkle here. All right. His local Best Buy seemingly had a pricing error in their system, and a brand new Denon AVR-X4300H was scanning at the price of $14.99 instead of $21.99.
Yeah.
He snagged one, but he hasn't opened it yet.
Yeah.
So now what should he do? Obviously, one option is to keep it and use it. He could try different amp configurations to figure out how many of his Emotiva amps he could sell along with his old processor. But he could also turn around and flip the brand new unopened X6400H for a profit. So how should he proceed?
Yeah, that's tough.
Well, let me tell you this right here. Okay, there's two thoughts I have here. First, I don't know the kind of person that would buy an unopened X6400H from somebody online or out of the back of a truck. You know what I mean?
You kidding me? Just on eBay.
On eBay, you think you can get that? I don't know.
Absolutely.
So you think you can get more than $1,500? That's fine. Okay.
Yeah.
I would probably sell it if I were you. All right. I'd probably try to get rid of it and then make some money off of it and then put that money towards the other thing that we said. But I kind of think that you're probably going to want to keep it. And I think it's probably too late and you already opened it. That's what I think. I think by the time that I have answered this question and you have heard this podcast, there is a new Denon X6400H sitting on your equipment rack. And you know what? That's fine. You got a good deal.
It does give you the opportunity to literally just try powering all 11 of your speakers using just the 6400H and then plugging in one of your 3-channel amps to power your front, left, center, right, while the 6400H powers all the other speakers.
Yeah.
And you just keep adding the external amps that you already own to see, okay, where is the dividing line? Where do I no longer hear an improvement to the sound? And then you would know for certain. At the same time, you've spent more than double the cost of the X4300H getting this. But he said his budget was flexible. It's not super cut and dry to me.
Yeah. I think he's already opened it.
Because I mean, there's a whole point. This really is the latest and greatest. He got it for a steal. Like that does need to be a pricing error. Nobody's selling it for $1,500 brand new right now. Not that model. So there's the kind of I got away with a steal. There's the pride of ownership of it's the brand newest thing. And it's the I for certain know how many external amps I genuinely need in order to actually hear any sort of difference thing going on there. But
I think
you use the extra $800 in your pocket?
That's what I'm saying. It's going to be more than that. The smart play is to sell it and make a profit on it, plus buy the 4300. If you did not do that,
that's the pure logic approach. No emotion, just logic.
If you did not do that, I do not blame you. because I
Oh,
think I think I'd be very, very tempted to just.
I know. No,
Yeah,
I mean, me in this situation, I'd be like,
one.
well, there's a brand new 6400H with its gold-plated connectors on the back there and 11 amp channels built in. I'm not going to use all of them, but there they are. Hey, has Oro 3D. I don't have to pay $200. See, if you wanted Oro 3D on the X4300H, you have to pay an extra $200 on top. 6400H has Oro 3D out of the box. I mean, hey.
No one wants that. No one wants that, Rob.
But it's already there.
No one wants it. No one wants that. Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.